Yeah, yep, you're on now.
So, hello everyone. I'm Ross Wilburn. I'm the state representative in Ames, Iowa, District 46. My pronouns are he, him, and his. I'm also a former local elected official. I served in Iowa City, Iowa for 12 years as a city council member, mayor pro tem, and as mayor. I was the first Black mayor of the city of Iowa City in 2006. I served in the Iowa Army National Guard for 6 years. I was a staff sergeant and squad leader as an engineer, a combat engineer. I have two adult children. I am employed right now. In addition to being a legislator, I'm also the diversity officer and community economic development associate director for Iowa State University Extension and Outreach, and I work with our staff in all 99 counties. I actually grew up in Davenport. I'm a class of 1982, a Davenport Central graduate. My family actually came to Iowa in 1975, I think it was. My father worked at International Harvester in East Moline, Illinois, making combines. So even as a child, my family, beyond eating food, knew the importance of our food supply chain because my father was employed and was a union member, and so they had the longest strike in history back then in the late 70s, early 80s. But otherwise, I think the strength of the Democratic Party lies with you, with us, in terms of people with diverse backgrounds, sharing a common vision, and primarily that is justice across the board, whether it's racial, gender identity, environmental. It's in the Constitution, the first charge in order to establish a more perfect union, we've got to establish justice. And I'll stop right there with the introduction. We'll go. My leadership style really is a blended participatory as well as knowing when I, as a leader, have to make a decision. I think it's important to have that flexibility. I'll give two examples. One, with my job at Iowa State University Extension and Outreach. When I came there as the diversity advisor, the vice president at the time wanted to push and stretch Extension to make sure that we were able to serve all Iowans in terms of our services and diversity in the broadest sense, diversity. And so I thought it was important that we put together a strategic plan on how we can become a more, embrace our diversity in our policy, our practices, and our procedures. And so we had, I've been through training as a group facilitator using methods called the technology of participation, developed by the Institute of Cultural Affairs in Arizona, but they're all over the world actually. And it's a participatory set of tools so that the people who are involved in implementing that strategic plan should be the people that are involved in developing it, because that way you've got ownership. So it's not just a board of directors, there's some representation from across an organization or a community. And we were able to develop that 3 to 5 year strategic plan, and have over the course of the past 4 years, especially the last 3 years, put some things into place in policy, practice, a real tangible one in terms of our e-accessibility. We've got an e-accessibility team, and Extension had a team working on becoming more accessible through our web pages and our videos, the educational tools. We've developed a couple classes for people to learn how to use the disability functions in the Microsoft Office suite. And we did that before. I mean, the university itself, Iowa State, is just starting to put that together right now. They hired a staff full-time within the past year. But so we've been 2 years ahead of that. A second example, I used to be the executive director of an organization in Iowa City, Johnson County, what's now known as Community Crisis Services. They have a food bank and a 24-hour crisis intervention hotline, suicide intervention. And at the time, it was about 9 or 10 paid staff and over 350 volunteers who actually staffed the crisis line, delivered the food service, emergency assistance, and provided the training for people to learn how to do that. And half of the board of directors were volunteers. And so there was one big policy thing that came up. This organization grew out of the 70s, and so it was more of a community relationship, trust of each other. But over years, in terms of liability issues, our insurance carrier was requiring us to have background checks, criminal background checks of the volunteers. Well, there were some people for it and strongly against it. And so I could have just said, well, we've got to do it or we get no insurance. But, I held a couple community meetings for the volunteers to bring it up. I told the board of directors, if we're going to do this, it's important that you as board directors, even though you're not having interactions with the consumers coming to that you do this as a sign to the volunteers. It was a couple strong conversations, constructive conversations, crucial conversations that we had, but the volunteers decided, we need to do this so that it's a safe environment. So those are two examples, a little long, but I think so you can see, that I have a background of trying to be participatory, to put work teams together, but also in my role, there are times when a decision needs to be made, whether it's timely or just policy, and I do it.